States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Seventh-day Adventists. Not here. Okay. Roll call, please.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. Here. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Sharks. Here. Smith.
Here. Squeaked in on that one, didn't you, Marty? Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove?
Nothing to remove, but I have a question on the payments on page 28. Payment number 17 is for windows, I believe, going forward, but we don't have any paid to date or any contract amount. So is that a carryover from 2020 to 2021? 60,000 total, or how is that going to happen going forward? Crafty Fox window repairs, item 17. Is the total still 60,000, and we're at somewhere in between 30,000 and 60,000?
So yes, that's correct, Kyle Croce, Public Works Director. Yes, so right now we are under the estimated amount of 60,000, and I believe we still do have 2 invoices that are coming in that'll bring it up to just over 40,000. There is still work that will be done on the second floor on the north side, some glass and then some interior work and then the exterior painting. So we're still in the process of completing, but we are under budget.
We did get a $20,000 grant.
Yep.
And we'll have that for the next meeting for approval, for city council approval.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question on the Ace Arena.
Okay.
I see that obviously we added an extra amount, and we must have found some other issues when we were doing the roof.
You going to speak to that?
Sure, yes. And so we still see that that there's some leaking due to the condensation and the difference in temperatures. So we asked Mueller to do additional penetrations and see where we can seal those up. We think we found a lot of what the problems are, and we may have other issues.
This relates to the vapor barrier we discussed?
It does, the vapor barrier, yes.
We went over there. There was a lot of condensation still building up in the ceiling in areas outside of where we did the work. And it turns out there's not a lot of vapor barrier included in that. And I think Mueller investigated some of that and did some work relative to that, correct?
Right, that's correct, yes, sir.
So how's the roof doing with these days that are melting?
The roof actually is doing really well. We still do have airflow from the old arena into the new arena and then passing into the space between the insulation and the roof. So we do still have some condensation. So we're looking into stopping that airflow as well and trying to deal with it.
We fixed the problem with the snow on the roof.
Right.
We're finding other issues.
But the roof that was installed and the penetrations, it's holding up very well.
Okay, anything else?
Move to approve the consent agenda items.
Okay, motion by Mr.
Second.
Starks, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of these? Roll call vote, please.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington. Allen.
Aye.
Sharks. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers. Rice.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken.
Hi.
That was quick.
Yes, Sonia Vanderdrick from Mitchell Township. I hope you guys had a great holiday season and a Happy New Year for 2021. There's been several studies that have come up in regards to COVID-19 that I wanted to share with you tonight, as I believe that will make a huge impact on your actions going forward. Remember how everyone was told that you have to wear a mask because you might be, giving something to somebody? Well, there's a huge study that came out actually, a tracking study of 10 million people in Wuhan, China. The only thing I have a problem with that is the tracking, because we're not communists. I don't believe in the tracking. but 10 million people, they found no asymptomatic spreading. 10 million. So going forward, I don't think we can say that we're going to be walking around town and I'm a healthy American and I don't have a mask on and I'm transferring something to somebody. So keep that in mind. If you would like that study, I can send you the links for that. Just let me know. In addition, we are basing all these actions on a false assumption that has negatively impacted our community. So people have said, if you don't wear a mask, you could kill your grandma or grandpa. So think of that impact on the children, okay? So if we have information telling us that there's 10 million people that they've tracked and there is nothing, then we need to listen to that. So a German study was done also. This was of children and teenagers wearing mouth and nose coverings, and 68% of them complained of wearing a mask. The most common issues, and this was with 25,930 children, was irritability with 60%, headaches 53%, difficulties concentrating 50%, sadness 49%, reluctance to attend school 44%, malaise 42%, impaired learning 38%, fatigue and drowsiness 37%. Other physical symptoms include rashes and allergies around the mouth, syncope, which is passing out, nausea, and hyperventilation. In addition, 25% of the children had developed anxieties and asked what they were thinking about the measures. 41% of the parents estimated they should be milder, and 31.6% estimated they were inappropriate. So what we need to be looking at is, if we've got all this information at hand, and I know personally people in town that are having issues with their children, headaches, nausea, dizziness, all kinds of these issues, when you use a medical intervention, there's risk. And so with risk, there must be choice. And so I'm giving you this information because I know on the 19th there's going to come up the vote. And I think you need to arm yourself with all the information and not just assuming what people tell you. I used to be like that. I used to assume, you know, when I was in healthcare and everything else, I would assume stuff. And then someone told me, you need to start doing your own research. And so I did. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at all. I'm not. But I'm encouraging all of you to also do your research. We can't just believe one person saying one thing or one group saying another thing, because there's a lot of people in the world and this community that believe differently than what is decided. And there's information that is totally going against that decision. So I thank you for your time, and if you want those links, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Mr. Bender, I'm going to ask you not to attack a group of people, you know, such as the Catholic Church or Dr. Charks this time. It wasn't really an attack, but it was inappropriate comment.
And you know, I was just going to come up tonight. I wanted to thank everybody, all right, because who knows what I'm going to say, right?
That's why I said this.
And coming after Sharks, I don't, and I did make it personal for a lot of people in here, but I want to thank her for standing up for what she believes in. I think she's got more balls than anybody, all right? So thank you, Susan. And so you understand why I got to do what I'm doing, right? So anyway, so let's get started. Can I get that back? I have never voted, not once in my life, all right? I've never said the Pledge of Allegiance, never. I was taught to stand, take my hat off, show respect, never put my hand over my heart, never pledge my allegiance to a state or a flag or a government. Remember when we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school? Kids used to ask me why I didn't, and they would make fun of me for my religious beliefs. And now I begrudgingly pay my taxes, and this wonderful country lets me live an almost perfect life, free to do what's right for me and my family, free from politics, free to be neutral, just like I think Jesus was. And he's not my God, but I am free to pledge my allegiance to the God of my understanding. Now, for the first time in my life, I have to question the extent of my individual freedom. The politics of this world has finally made it into my life, so I got to start speaking out. And I believe what they're doing, and I know Mitchell, we're really lucky in Mitchell and South Dakota as a whole. I believe what they're doing to the children, though, is criminal in so many ways. So that's why I have to speak out. And in doing so, I risk my freedom, don't I? By expressing my grievances in front of elected officials, just like our flimsy Constitution tells me to do, they will arrest me, won't they? Now, in a rural area like Colorado, there's 7 young people that have committed suicide since the pandemic. Like I said, we're lucky here. Now we're at war with an invisible virus, and since that virus is invisible, it has to take some kind of form. percent of Americans can fight it. So who do we begin to fight? When we are told that everyone could have it and we could all die from it. We're not fighting any one person, but we are isolating everybody. You're making people walk around with a blank face. Masks make us distrust everybody. We become isolated from family, friends, everybody. The psychological damage it's doing to everybody, our communities as a whole, especially the children, is immense. And the government at all levels is screwing this up. I just read an article coming in here. South Dakota has no mask mandate. North Dakota does. They're both, the rates of virus or infections are plummeted in both. Now, with the rec center I asked about last week, we're at 80% this year, and since your fear-inducing mask law went into place, it went down to 65. Now, John Foster already attested to how it took 45% of his business the next day, right? But obviously, you don't care about the financial part and all that stuff, right?
Wrap it up, please, because your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council?
My name is Mike Bathke. I'm here to talk to you about the Westwood First Edition, specifically the area directly to the south and west of the Coca-Cola plant and the development going on out there. I own 4 properties along West 8th, so the area in question is just a few blocks to the north of my properties. And I have been observing several different issues that are of concern. My first is the drainage pipe that was installed in front of the business condos along a private road that was built. I'm concerned that pipe is too small and will hold back the water in an area that already has flooding issues. Last year, when we received 7 inches of rain, much of the area around Commerce and 8th Street was flooded, including the entrance to the city shop. I have talked to Mr. Croce about this, and he informed me he is working with the property owner to resolve the issue. However, after I further reviewed the situation, I've observed the pipe I'm referring to runs directly under a storage shed. So I'm not sure how this may easily be resolved. My second concern is the filling in of the drainage ditch directly west of the Coca-Cola plant. I had inquired with SPN about how much could be filled in, and I did not get a complete answer. So I would like to know if the developer had to file a drainage plan, and if so, how did the drainage be addressed? I'm concerned about the water being choked down toward the north of my property. My third concern is the material that is being hauled in and dumped in the area as filter is actually coming from a feedlot. I would estimate that there are over 150 loads have been hauled in the past 2 years. In the past 10 days, the hauling has become excessive and has been running 7 days a week. After I could smell what was going on, curiosity got the best of me, and I had the material sampled. I have a sample report from Next Level A, LLC, out of Alpena, South Dakota, from a small sample I collected on site last week. The report lists numerous items as high or very high. I'm not an expert in soil testing, but I have asked several individuals familiar with soil sampling, and the feedback I've got is that the amounts of the various elements in the soil are dangerously above normal limits. This is a problem, especially since this land eventually drains into Lake Metro. And this could be detrimental to what the city is trying to achieve on the west end of the lake in regard to cleanup efforts. In the beginning of 2020, I voiced concerns to the city engineering department on 2 different occasions, and ultimately was told that the DNR had been contacted and was handling it. I'm questioning that because I have talked with DNR both last year and now this year, and they are unaware of any of these events I've discussed with you. The situation is not logical, given the city recently paid $4.1 million to acquire property to help control the problem of runoff into Lake Mitchell.
Okay, wrap it up your 3 minutes.
We should not be allowing this to happen. I would ask the city to look into this. We all want the lake to move forward in the right direction, but it seems we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And I do have this soil sample, and I know that Councilman Allen has some expertise in this, so he can maybe explain to you folks at a different time what it actually reads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will look into it. Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the City Council to recess, sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 1/19/2021. Patrick Clark has applied for side yard on a corner variance of 11 feet versus 20 feet is required for construction of a deck at 421 East Hanson, legally described Lot 1, Block 46, Lawler's First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned R2, single-family residential.
Set the date.
Who's that, Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rice, okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene the City Council, entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn the City Council reconvene regular session. Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing on that, on the following alcohol license, on the application transfer package off-sale liquor license PL 4700 from MAC Hotels, Inc., doing business as Thunderbird Lodge, 1601 South Burr Street, to Tushar Shah, doing business as Radhe LLC, 1601 South Burr, Mitchell, South Dakota. Mr. Costner.
Mayor and Council, Mike Coster, Mitchell PD. We have no concern about the license transfer on this.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. On the application to transfer off-sale liquor license PL 4686 from iMart Stores LLC, doing business as iMart Stores USA, 512 Sanborn Boulevard, Mitchell, to IYS Ventures LLC, doing business as iMart Stores, 512 South Sanborn, Mitchell.
Again, we have no concerns about this license.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Approve the official depositories for the City of Mitchell for 2021. Mrs. Bathke?
This is just a yearly formality. It's on the regular agenda instead of consent because of Mr. Councilmember Smith. So,
We're not giving his bank any money, are we?
no, I like to let him abstain, so.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. I'm assuming you're going to abstain, Mr. Smith?
Abstain.
Okay. One abstention. Action to approve amendment to Agreement A 2019-51, agreement with the State of South Dakota for a FEMA hazard mitigation and state funding for the 508 West Ash Street property acquisition. Mr. Croce.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council. Kyle Croce, Public Works Director. So this is a voluntary program that FEMA has with the state emergency management system. And we started this project back in December of 2019. The program is for properties that are in the floodplain, and this particular one is in the Dry Run Creek area. It's 508 West Ash. The owner has agreed for purchase of the property by FEMA, the state, and the city. Basically, the state, FEMA puts in 75% of the estimated cost or assessed cost. 10% comes from the state, and then 15% comes from the local match. And our local match would be for demolition and landfill of the materials. So staff recommends that the City Council approve this agreement. The city would end up with the ownership of that property and maintenance of the property, and the property owner gets the assessed value of the structure.
And you'll no longer be able to build anything on this property, correct?
That's correct. There would be no more building on that property allowed. Denny Kamick is here representing the owner if there are any questions. He recently signed a statement of voluntary interest, which basically says we didn't force him to sell us the property.
I know we've had flooding along that area several times in the last 10, 15, 20 years plus. Do we have anybody, and it is voluntary, do we have anybody else interested in the floodplain?
The only,
Exercising their right to look at doing this?
the only other interest was with the David Wise mobile trailer home park over at west of Minnesota on North Second or
Right, West Second, yep.
Yep. And we're still looking into that. The state and FEMA has preliminarily approved that, but they do need to find out how much the property is assessed at, and then it's a little bit more complicated because there are at least 11 homeowners that would have to be relocated as well.
Okay.
So it's a little more complicated, but
Yep.
we're still in that process.
It follows the same process and outline with FEMA for the floodplain.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So it's basically the homes that are north of Ash on that map up here, is that generally, does Ash Street pretty much the boundary of the floodplain?
I'd have to look at it again. It does incorporate most of the homes in Ash, along that north side of Ash. Depending on the elevation, it may extend further to the south, especially on the other side of Minnesota. There are some lower homes that may extend down. The floodplain may extend down even further on the other side of Ash. So it depends where we are in relation to Dry Run Creek.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. Rice,
Second.
second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? Not unless you want to say something, Mr. Kamey. Okay, any questions, Mr. Kamey? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve agreement A 2021-01, Lake Mitchell Wetland Agreement, Ducks Unlimited. Mr. Croce.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an agreement with Ducks Unlimited for the design of the wetland area. We've talked and we've been working with Bruce Toy at Ducks Unlimited. We work with a number of partners, but this is the start of an exciting project for this wetland opportunity. They're going to first look at the area just west of the State Road 406. They'll look at areas further upstream and see if there are locations that would be ideal for other earthen dams or structures to control the water flow and create those wetlands. They would start this month, and we're expected that they would complete the design within 3 months. We talked with our partners over at James River Water Development District for the cost of the design, and they agreed to reimburse us for that cost. So we're very excited about getting started on this area.
And I had one question and you answered, but I want to make sure I say it in the meeting, is the Ducks Unlimited letter calls out $25,000 for the work, but then in their Appendix A, they call out a $29,000 total, and we call out a $29,000 total. And the work is $25,000 plus up to $4,000 for expenses?
Yes, so it's estimated that there may be some reimbursable costs for travel and vehicle mileage, a consultant that may have to come under contract.
So
for
not to
geotechnical
exceed
work.
$29,000?
Not to exceed
total.
$29,000,
Okay.
yes, sir.
And this all gets paid by the James River Water Development?
Yes, sir, reimbursed.
Part of the grant money
100%.
that we've
Yes,
given
sir.
them.
Yes. Yeah. Through that NACA grant?
Not the NACA grant, through the DENR grants that we got for the SRF loans and
Down the line. Okay. Very good.
Move to approve.
motion by Mr. McCarty.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-03, vacation of the public right-of-way, 1300 block of South Kimball Street. Again, this went to planning and zoning. They had a recommendation. I'm sure Mr. Putnam's going to tell you of not to do it. However, it is an area that will never be developed. It would require that we have to remove a good number of the trailer houses to continue it through, if we were to continue to Norway. So, Mr. Putnam, you want to?
Well, just to kind of build off of what the mayor said, the planning commission, which isn't, again, required to hear this, but a practice has always been asked for their input. If you would have referred back to the planning commission minutes of the 14th, you would see some of the discussion on that. On the aerial that is before you, as you can see, the 3 X's indicate the property or where this vacation was. We're not vacating all of Kimball. It's approximately the 1,300 block is about, for lack of a better description of it. So it's from that point where the blue to the south. So, and the 2 property owners are Jerry Regency, and who's here, and then the Middle Border Estates and
right.
Rocky's here as well. They both have submitted a petition, so it's obviously, and then we've gone through the hearing process, it's been noticed and so forth. So with that, how it came about, again, we found there were some encroachments that were identified, and I believe that's in the staff report. Also, the resolution is written with that there would be no construction on it, that if there are any existing easements, they would be maintained, even though we don't have any, but Northwestern or Mitchell Telecom or somebody else may have some. So that's what it would happen. Again, it would just be from the X's don't have any particular whether they are just show where the property line or where the property is. So with that, I see both the petitioners are here. If you've got questions of them, with that.
So I see in the, during the presentation at the planning commission that the city of Mitchell actually went on record saying that they have no problem with this vacation.
Correct.
That is still
the position.
Today.
You can ask Mr. Croce. You want to step up and speak to that?
Yes, sir. I mean, there's no roadway to the south. It ends at Middle Border Estates, and there's no plan for any extension of South Kimball through Middle Border. The park is a good establishment, so we would have no intentions of connecting that road. And right now, it's a roadway for those private individuals or private properties.
And the fire marshal also was in agreement that this is okay to do this?
That is correct.
That's Mr. Larson,
I'll move
shaking his head.
All I would add is that everything to the west of there through the trailer park itself would already be considered private road. So this would really just extend it up to the north property line. So.
Right. So everything to the west is private. That's correct.
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Charks.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience want to address this?
I'm Jerry Regenski, Rocky Brendan, with the 2 property owners. You all have a copy of 10 items I mentioned here that will start out that we were not invited to the Planning Commission's agenda back on December 15th, so we're here now to plead our case.
Actually, Mr. Jaginski, you know it's going to be approved.
The what?
You don't have to say anything if you don't want it. It's going to be approved.
What's going to be approved? Okay, well, you all read that.
Unless you want to speak to it, you don't need to.
Don't make me change my mind.
You want to be careful what you say in case you change their mind, so.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to speak to it? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We're adjourned.
You're approved.